Okay, see if this works. Sorry if my computer my lagging. And sorry about the noise too. I have a lot of people right now, and this only time I can record. Hello, this is my project that I will be presenting. My name is Fabi Tolentino. Sorry. The culture I picked is my culture, which is Mexican culture. And you may be wondering what is Mexican culture? Mexican culture is a mixture of indigenous cultures and Spanish traditions or influences. Typically, right now, it's a little bit more of American influences because America is a little bit more popularized in many different cultures, and it also oh, sorry, I didn't realize I changed the slide. It's different in many regions and territories in Mexico. The image I have right here on the right, basically are the cities in Mexico. And I just wanted to show you this, just so you can have like a brief view of what I'm going to talk about, and basically my explanation of, a little bit like a definition of what Mexican culture is. Language, I want to start off by talking about this because it's a really important topic to me and it's not really talked about a lot. Typically, you might think, Mexicans speak Spanish, here in speak Spanish, and you're correct, we do speak Spanish, but sometimes it's, our first or second language. As for me, it was my second language. I learned English first. And there are different types of languages. And you may be like, what languages, what different types? I'm talking about travel language, dialect, or some, referred as dialect or referred as indigenous language or, native languages. These languages are different in the type of regions or territories in Mexico. And they're sometimes different or the languages come from the heritage of ancestors or the territories. Here in this image, it explains like the 11 main or well-known or talked about or spoken travel languages in Mexico. So indigenous language are more common in Mexico than here in the United States. And it's sometimes somebody's first language. My mom actually learned her dialect first before Spanish. She was taught Spanish at school. And I think that's, a shocker maybe to some people because it's not really talked about. And I feel like this is a important part of Mexican culture because it tells a big significance to somebody's life as well as their history and basically impacts their, future generation. Here I have a chart, or I guess a graph, on the ranking of like, the most spoke language in Mexico or like the dialect. And I would like to see this, or I like to see how it's broken down and basically the amount of people that still speak it because there is actually kind of a prediction that the travel language wouldn't be used that much anymore. Future might tell if that is right or wrong, but I think it's whatever because I can't really say anything. I don't speak my parents' dialect. I don't really understand it. I only know like three words, but I'm just trying. But most dialects are still used, in Mexico and a strong piece of their culture, but aren't so here in the United States or in the newer generation because, it's you won't really use it. The most used language here is English. So it's very just less of a significance here in America than Mexico. There's a lot of material cultures. An example like of those will be in the bottom picture where the ukulele or the shawl is at. It's there's a lot of it, but it really depends on where you're from and your traditions or stuff like that. I want to talk about clay pottery, clothing, and housing. Clay pottery is a material culture because I think it not only represents the history of your family or basically your heritage or anything like that, but also the way it's made. There's many different ways you can make clay pottery, or at least the designs and tools that you would have to use. So I think that's why I picked it as a material culture or put it here in the slide, as well as clothing. An example of clothing would be like, wool shawls. And you usually typically see that in quinceañeras, weddings, or, celebrations at church, like the Virgin Mary. It's a staple wear and sometimes it's a daily wear, but here in America you won't really see it. But I think that's a material culture as well because of the way not only it's made like it's material, but also the designs and the way you have to um let's just say like, color, the way you have to put the color in the dye, the different ingredients, basically stuff like that. Housing is really different here in America than Mexico. Um, the house that I picked doesn't really do justice about all the other houses. This house is typically for middle class, but most houses are made from wood, clay. If you live in the lower class, you'll usually see houses built more out of metal, less livable kind of, but usually houses are made from like following the land. I don't know how to explain it, but like if you live in a hill, you'll see houses following up the shape of the hill, if that makes any sense. And it doesn't do justice at the photo as well. This photo doesn't do that much justice either because the sidewalks aren't really like this sleek. It like I said, if you live up a hill, the houses follow up the hill. So if there's like a road on the hill, you'll see like the sidewalks falling upon it, and sometimes some people make memes out of it because of how unusual the shapes are and how different every sidewalk is from the houses. Another material culture I picked is music and dance. Music, there's a lot of styles of it in Mexican culture, and the most popular right now is like pop, corridos, and bandas from the newer generation. There's also different styles of dances. Most popular is cumbia, bachata, for loco, norteña. Most of these you would see in performances, probably like in your local school or traditional school, I guess you could say. But but um, these will express different stories or from art, from the way it's expressed or anything like that. Signs or symbols. There's three main symbols that I chose that express a lot of value to Mexicans or Mexican culture in general, which is the Mexico flag, anthem, and the coat of arms. The Mexico flag is a symbol of Mexico and it represents, their independence, religion, and union in Mexico. And this also falls upon the anthem and the coats of arms. The anthem is a Mexico is a national anthem and it's a symbol of Mexican culture, and it represents their history of or military victory and loss of territory towards the U.S. And the coat of arms is sometimes referred as a shield, and you will see in the image right here. This is the shield the shield, and it's an image usually seen in the Mexico flag, and it's an eagle holding a snake while standing on a cactus, and it tells the story of when Mexico was founded and by the Aztec people. Once the Aztec people saw an eagle, I think near a river, I think it was, I don't think specifically think it was on a cactus, but that's them like knowing, I guess, or that was a symbol for them knowing that that would be the place that they would settle in, and known as Mexico. Another symbol that I chose was religion, celebration, and food. For religion, usually a lot of Mexicans are Catholic, and one of their symbols for that would be the rosary because it's a huge importance and you know in church, and it plays a huge part in just prayer sessions. I actually have an image here of how would do a rosary and stuff like that. So like I said, it's a huge part and symbol. Another thing would be, like the Virgin Mary because it represents life, health, and hope in many Catholics, and it's also a big, part in that community because usually you won't really see that in Christianity. Celebrations are also symbols because some holidays like the Day of the Dead or the Feast of the Virgin Mary are huge symbols because it celebrates not only like the respect but also show the pride in what they believe in, and that's a huge part of Mexican culture. Another thing would be food. Some food that I kind of chose are corn, beans, and spices because it's a really huge symbol of Mexican culture because it's used in many different dishes, and you'll mostly see it like if you go to a Mexican restaurant, you literally be served what tortillas, like little tortilla chips and salsas. So this is all really much used in many valuable dishes. For values in Mexican culture, values are placed, from birth, and they're really, really, really important in Mexican cultures. The ones that I picked or that I'm gonna fully talk about more is family, language, respect and dignity, heritage, and tradition and religion. This image right here I picked because it kind of explains it more thoroughly. As you can see, it you can see the values as kind of like roles too, because they're placed on the family, and they believe it's like a huge part in who they are, what they do. Children at a young age are taught respect and just a whole positive values as and the mother is used as like a caretaker, and sometimes can give tough love or just love, like nursing, and usually they're discipline a child. Father in traditional homes, the father would be the like man, or like how to say it, the breadwinner, I guess you say, in the household, and they would be like the one that you depend on personally. So for to explain this, I divided them into these sides. So family and language, and like family values are really close to somebody's identity and their culture. This is a huge part in Mexican culture, and basically it kind of affects the whole purpose and things of the life. The child should respect the elders and parents as well as their religion, and also have strong worth and ethics in schools at homes. And the female should learn to cook and clean while the men work or relax at home. As you can see, this would be like a perfect image of this. Or this is an image that I found that, or painting or form of art that I found that I think really, I'm gonna say, follows upon this information. And it's also important to keep the language strong. Speaking Spanish or being bilingual is an important thing in Mexican culture and a Mexican household. And it's seen as valuable. And if you don't know or don't speak it or don't even understand Spanish, you will be seen as dishonorable or an embarrassment to the family. And it's kind of sad to know that or how people are placed upon or seen upon, but that's kind of how it is in Mexican culture, and this falls upon respect and dignity. Respect is everything in Mexican culture. It's seen as how you were raised, how you reflect upon your family, and how you are as a person. And it can really, change your life if you don't project the rightful things. Dignity is also an important value as it's like a sense of pride in Mexican culture, and it represents who you are in your family's name. Dignity also holds up strong power in how the family is seen, and someone's dignity is crucial in every family. And usually, like if you do something bad or if you are seen in a certain type of way, not only would you be reflected like that here or wherever you are, but it will also reflect in your other families. Like for example, if I do something bad, not only would my family find out, but my family in Mexico will find out, they will find out, their neighbors will find out. Like it literally goes on for a while, and it's just a lot. And the reason I picked these two pictures to represent this because, the top one is understandable. It's, the grandma being with, not only her mother, but her grandchild, and just having a wonderful time together. And the bottom picture I picked because it comes from an article that basically talks about how they don't want their dignity to be shattered by somebody. They don't want people to think Mexicans as a certain way. They want them to be accepted. Another thing is heritage, traditions, and religion. A family's heritage upholds their name and blood and where they came from, basically a sense of pride. And it also reminds them of who they are and reasoning behind their traditions, where you came from, who you are, affects what you do in your life. And this also comes with, the religion. Many Mexicans believe in, or are Christians or Catholic, but which is more accepting, but some praise different religions or different things. An example of this would be the bottom picture right here. This um saint is called La Santa Muerte. I won't really talk about it a lot because I don't feel comfortable talking about it, but it's a different belief that a lot of Mexicans believe in. Here's some Mexican traditions or Mexican culture traditions, and this is an example right here where the Virgin Mary like cross. I think this is in Christmas, if I'm not wrong. But basically, it's just a good example of what Mexican or a big part of Mexican culture and how they go by. Some norms in Mexican cultures are highly different from other cultures and have a still huge impact, such as everything else. Some that I have listed, I'm going to explain to you. One being family. In many Mexican household, men are the head of the household. Females have to cook and clean, and some work. For example, my mom, she has to cook and clean. She has to be the one to be on top of everything, but she also works. And sometimes, but mostly the men do, but this is rarely seen sometimes. Masculinity is important for men in every single household, and it represents not only their strength, but also their dignity, which, like I said, it's a very huge value. Um, Children are supposed to greet everybody and act proper, and they have to be looking their best, not only like in the home, but also outside school, basically, representing the whole family good as a whole. And they have to help the family, whether with work or education, because that's something that they depend on. Um, okay. For a house, there's a lot of different things or a lot of different norms in the house. That's why I have it kind of grouped up like this. If you go to somebody's house or greet them, you have to say hello to everybody. That includes people coming to your house and visiting you. They will have to like say hi to you, even if you don't know them, because it's seen as something respectful. And if you don't, you're automatically gonna have not I would say a bad reputation, but it would be something that you won't really want, and you would be seen as like rude, and it would be seen as rude behavior. For cleaning, the house should be clean already. The house should be, expected to be clean, have food prepared on the table for guests. And it's kind of a great gesture if you just sit down and eat because like I said, food's already prepared technically for you. And if you don't eat, it's kind of seen as disrespectful. Cleaning and cooking, like I said, is for the females, for the mother and daughter. Food, a beverage or something to drink would be given to like the guests, and you would have to be asked to be excused if you're gonna leave the table. Usually we have to like if you're a guest and you eat, we will serve you and then we will clean your plate. And another thing is that most foods in Hispanic households are spicy or have essential spices. And if you don't really have that much of a tolerance, it's good for you to ask not to like eat or not to eat, but like to have something different or just not put the spices if it's not including the milk. And this is really these images or paintings that I found are really good examples of this. As you can see, the father comes back from work and the daughter and mother are just, cleaning, cooking. And here's another representation of that in the bottom right. So for celebration, there's many celebrations in Mexican tradition. Usually, if you want to give a gift, it's not really required, but seen as a good gesture. They don't have to be over the top, but if you are giving a gift, it's good enough for you just to bring one. Some gifts that are good are like food, clothing, or jewelry. They're great gifts. Um, there will be a party for any occasion we're celebrating. Some popular in Mexican culture, we can see it as weddings, baptisms, just stuff like that. And they were really celebrated with their whole heart. Um, Holidays, there are many holidays that are being celebrated in Mexican culture. Some are more close to religion, such as Easter, Christmas, the day, the feast of the Virgin Mary, and other holidays such as the Day de las Posadas. But there's a lot of things that are worth celebrating and seen as something that should be celebrated. Here I have an image that kind of explains it. I'm sorry if it's in Spanish, but they have the typical holidays such as Mother's Day, Father's Day, um New Year's, Christmas, but if your family is a little bit more into religion, you will mostly see the Virgin Mary, the day of Jesus resurrection, the day of All Saints. I think that's how you say it. So that's what you will see here in this little chart. And the bottom picture is also usually just like celebrations of Mexico's independence, or if you guys don't know, we actually host carnavals in Mexico, and that's in the bottom of the slide right here. Usually people just dress up in costumes or anything that you can possibly find, and you would just party. So, in conclusion, Muslim culture is different from any other culture. There are some stuff or values like values or norms that are the same for other cultures or for other households, but overall, it's represented with love and pride in who they are and what they came from. And although culture now is slightly changing, there's some households where you can see that the men does not always have to be the head of the household, sometimes the woman or just both. But it still holds a big significance on many traditions and cultures, and sometimes it can really define history of the culture. So this is my project. Hopefully you guys like it and like the explanation. I'm sorry if I went too fast. But yeah, this is my culture, and I'm happy that I was able to at least explain a bit. Also, if you're looking for some evidence or want some resources and links to these, I have it in my slides. Those are the parts that are highlighted. But yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity, I guess. I'm really, happy I was able to do this, and yeah.